You're listening to Real Radio, the nationally trusted name in real estate investing. We dig deep to discover investors' why in real estate. If you want to skip all the BS and get in investors' heads, you're in the right spot. Be one of the thousands to check out realradio.com.
One of the biggest things I realized is like getting health in order, but also getting your mental health in order. There is a lot of stress that comes with business and it doesn't stop. And the more successful you are, the bigger the problems you're taking on. I saw a post that I wrote, I wanted 25 units. I wanted cash flow $5,000 a month and boom, call it quits. This is like 7-8 years ago. I wrote that because I thought I'd be able to do nothing and being able to do nothing would make me happy. That is the opposite of the truth. Doing things makes me actually very fulfilled. I just need to be able to be the person that has the capabilities, has the energy, has the strength, has the mental aptitude to actually do those things. So I have to constantly work on myself.
Welcome to Real Radio, episode 206 with Collin Schwartz, baby.
Woo! The crowd goes wild.
6th highest listened to episode your first time around, and you've learned a little bit since then. Have you? You have
on
right?
the 16th episode.
Oh, 16th. Yeah, sorry.
16th episode, 6th highest listened.
Yes.
Now we're episode 206.
A lot of
sixes there.
Yeah, I know. We need one more to get out of this 666 thing.
Yeah, I mean, you can just push my release to 207.
Okay, we'll look into that.
Just saying, 7's my lucky number.
Collin, I told this story about there was a guy in kind of England, Wales area that lost his hard drive that had $700 million worth of crypto on it. And you had something similar happen at one point. Am I right in remembering this?
Yeah, I think you could remove 3 zeros and then cut it by a 10th.
Tell us the story, since we're in the week of like crazy economic and capital market swings. Cryptocurrency has like gone shot back up, back down. What happened there?
Yeah, crypto is a gamble for most everybody. I think you're trying to ride a wave. I think a lot of people have been successful. A lot of people have lost a crap ton of money. Anyways, I had 6 figures in crypto. It had jumped up. It had gone from 20,000 to getting close to 200,000. And I was on a platform, Uniswap, and I started making trades, and I looked and I saw that it just kept spinning. And then I realized, so there's a 16-word or 12-word key passphrase.
Yeah, 16, yeah.
Yeah, that you need for when you log in. So you can typically do like your username and just a regular password, but if you log out or if you have to log in from a different system, it's going to require this unique passphrase. Well, I could not find that phrase anywhere. So the risk was if I clicked X on that box that I'd never be able to access this again. So I was sitting there just for a week waiting it out. But I remembered that I had taken a photo of it previously. But my buddy Logan Fast, who's also a partner on some real estate, said, dude, the crypto AI people are going to steal your phone and they're going to get that passphrase and you're going to lose all your crypto money. So I was like, oh, you're right. I better delete that photo. That would have been helpful. Well, there's this software that you can get that can actually upload all your photos that have been like permanently deleted. It's really weird. So guys, nothing on your phone is actually permanently deleted. I was able to get in, it recovered like 200,000 photos. So I think I spent about 48 hours straight looking through every single past photo. And I came across it. It was like 4:30 a.m. And I saw the photo and it had, of the 12 or 16 words, it had most of them on there, except it had cut off like the edges. But I got down to about like 900 combinations. And then I spent, the next day grinding it out and finally got in. By then it lost like $100,000 too. Right now it's probably worth 15 cents. I don't know because I've traded it and moved it around so much. But yeah, crypto's not my jam. Another fun one is when Doge was going through the roof. Mm-hmm. I asked Logan again. I was like, man, give me another stupid coin that everybody's talking about that sounds like a dog. So he told me Shiba Inu. I spent at least 3 to 4 hours moving tokens into one account, transferring it to Ethereum, to Bitcoin, learning all those processes, opening up something on like KuCoin and all these different things. And I got to what I found out was the last step, but before I got to that, I had a meeting. So I ran off and was like, I'm not going to do anything with it. Whatever. I had $3,000 ready to go. Just like, decent size investment for something that could go to zero. Within those few weeks, it moved over 5 zeros. So you can do the math on what that would be if you had $3,000 and had 5 zeros. So
I bought
that's my Powerball ticket that got flushed down the drain.
I had at one point,
Yeah.
I think 400 million shares of Shiba Inu, because it was like 0.000 whatever. It was just like a nothing, a minimal amount of money. Then I had Doge, and I had some of the other ones, Ethereum and whatnot. But yeah, that I missed the boat on that completely. I mean, and you see people like that every now and then that were like, they just happen to put in a little bit of money at the right time, and now they're just like peace out, billionaires.
Yeah, I've realized, like, I think people get lost in, how easy it is to make money because you see those stories of either crypto or inventing an app or doing something that creates like this virality or this thing that's just very uncommon. It's just there's more opportunities to win the Powerball, but it's still the Powerball. You're still gambling. It's still going to be luck. But yeah, there's some people that have done insanely well. I've come across a few of them, and it's wild. I mean, just usually they're in their 20s and they're worth, $50 to $250 million. And it's all been based off of Bitcoin or some cryptos.
And now they invest with you guys in your different businesses, right?
I mean, some of them do. I've had some conversations because they realize the volatility of crypto. They're also looking for some tax sheltering. They also know just kind of how fragile the entire system is, meaning you could accidentally throw your hard drive into a dumpster and, spend the next 13 years hiring everybody to look for it. But yeah, so that is not my lane.
What are some other
NFTs? I did buy $16,000 of Bud Light NFTs. I think it was about $16,000 because the assumption and the tip was that Bud Light was going to air a commercial during the Super Bowl. And so this was like some insider intel that these NFTs, this is when they were going crazy. These things were selling for millions of dollars. It's like, all right, $16,000 for, pictures of joysticks and Bud Light can, in 3D art images. What a deal. Yeah, that commercial never aired. They were worth a zero.
It is. I remember this. We were joking around about this a lot at the time, but wasn't there a thing too where like they gave them away to their employees for a huge discount below the strike price or something like that?
I mean, they're worth a penny.
Yeah,
at best.
So, okay, this is kind of fun.
Remember Denless and how crazy he got about
yes,
NFTs?
we spent an entire episode, I think, talking about, or an intro talking about
I'm
NFTs.
sitting there, I'm like, I don't get it.
Yeah. Now, obviously, we're going to dig into your real estate, what you've been up to in the last 4 years since the last episode. But
this is way more fun.
What are some other like things that you've put money into that are non-real estate related? The good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yeah, so that's really interesting. And you hear this all the time, stay in your lane. But staying in your lane is incredibly important because really the only times that I've actualized an actual loss has been things outside of real estate where I have not enough proficiency and I'm not the one driving the boat. Mm-hmm. So, and I think those investments occurred more when the market was really good. So everything was winning. So it's like, okay, I can take this risk of, putting $25,000 here, $50,000 there, because a lot of people were being successful in these different types of investments. I was part of another mastermind. This was 3 or 4 years ago. And I invested in a cauliflower crust company for a pizza company. I met the CEO. The numbers look good. And yeah, I ended up getting an email last year that said, hey guys, company went to zero. There's not going to be any K1s. There's nothing to tell you here. So
thanks. See you soon.
Thanks.
Man, that capital raiser must have done a great job.
Yeah, he did do a great job because there was about 7 other projects that they raised for that all went to zero. Now, what was a really telling sign and what I think is like driven me like in my decision-making process, especially of late, is trusting my gut first and foremost. I think oftentimes we're so much in our head, but our body actually tells us what we feel and what those initial thoughts are, and that there should be at least some care and some thought within that. Now, I remember talking to the CEO of this company. We were on the bus going to some other event, and, I picked up on a lot of cues, but I just never verbalized them, or I chose to not actualize them, meaning he seemed down and depressed. When I actually asked him about the business, there wasn't a lot of enthusiasm. 3,
He was going through the motions.
He was going through the motions, and I didn't realize, but now looking back, it was probably a last ditch effort to save the company. And then you combine that with the rise of interest rates. I mean, because his business was basically being ran through a line of credit. So, you got $1 million on there, you're paying 3%, jumps up to 7%. Your sales aren't there. You hit a snafu or snag in the production and everything falls apart. So, trusting the operator and also knowing your lane is really important. So I think another piece of that is like when I'm getting advice from another service, it's not so much of the service provider telling me, what they can do. I'm not an easy person to be sold in that aspect. What I'm looking for is customers with high reviews of that individual. And I think that's one of the most telling things is like, who has actually been happy with that product? Somebody can sell you. And that's what I've realized more and more is there are some people that are just really, really, really good salespeople and will sell you anything regardless of the intended outcome. And it's because they believe it so much, or two, they really want to get the sale. But I think you have to know about, like, you got to have some other customers to validate that. Otherwise, you need to become at least somewhat of an expert in those areas yourself.
In my experience doing sales, because I've been a salesman pretty much my whole life now, is when you're desperate, people see how desperate you are. And so if they just are looking for the sale, I think that you can read that if you have some common, reading abilities like you've already mentioned. But when somebody believes in it and truly believes in it, that changes everything. Like,
Agreed.
Because you just melt in their hands and you're like, yeah, this is right.
Yes.
So you and I, Collin, and I know, Ted, you and I have talked about this, I think, in a separate conversation, but we've talked about cognitive dissonance before. And this is more related to people than it is to like a thing or a business that you maybe want to invest in. But cognitive dissonance, what's your take on what that actually means?
Well, it was really interesting, and it was about the same individual when we had started discussing it. It's when I'm having a conversation with somebody and I feel a level of discomfort, and that either I'm modifying the words that I am saying to try to have them accept it, or they're trying to tell me things in a way that's not being, I'm going to say truthful, but being fully transparent.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of a walk around to tell you what you want to hear, not in a direct way. And there is an energy, there's a feeling that gets rubbed off, and you can almost notice because you stop paying attention, because your bullshit radar just starts going off. You're like, there's something that doesn't feel right, but they're smiling, they're talking to me, so I'm going to continue to do the same.
Yeah. So I wrote down trust your gut. You mentioned that when we first started talking here. And then that led me to think of cognitive dissonance situations. And like you and I had talked in depth about this for a bit, about people we've been, we run in a lot of the same circles, and obviously being business partners and the meetups and everything that we do, we'll run into the same cast of characters. And sometimes there's just people that you'll meet along the way. And this is for, anybody listening to this, I think you'll be able to relate. Sometimes you meet people and there is something just off about them. They could say all the right things. They could say it in a way, maybe other people think they're charming, but something is just off. Like your gut is telling you this person is not matching up with how I operate, or like they don't have my best interest maybe, but there is something to that for sure.
Absolutely.
So you have to pay attention to that. So cognitive dissonance / trust your gut on people. And then also, like you mentioned, on investments, where maybe you have to get validation from other people who have actually done it. And also the people that are trying to pitch you on something, make sure they have their own skin in the game and what they're trying to sell. Because, to your point, Ted, you've sold a lot of different stuff over the years. You have to believe in your product to be convincing enough a lot of times to, be able to do it. Do you believe what you're saying?
I still believe in those products I sold back then because I believed in them, and that's why I joined the companies. But one thing I was going to say is, like, at one point, all of us had a meetup or run a meetup currently, right? And there's so many people in the room, and you feel that feeling when you're talking to somebody and you're like, yeah, you're just not rubbing me the right way.
Mm-hmm.
And then you'll run into somebody like a couple weeks later down the road, and they're like, hey, have you met this person? I'm thinking about going to business. I'm like, I don't know anything about them, but there just was something there that just wasn't clicking with me. And I can't say I would invest with them, but hey, you do you. And I don't know anything about that person, but I just have a feeling. It happens more times than I can express. It just happens all the time.
Here's the thing about that, though, to kind of like dig a little bit deeper into it, is if I'm feeling that about someone, like, is it just my vibe that isn't jiving with them, or is that in general what they put off to other people?
Comes with experience.
And they're ignoring it, or they don't feel it at all. So
Yeah.
that's the hardest thing about it is like, is it just me? But
I think a lot of it's being very self-aware of yourself. We're creatures that are visual. We're very visual. Then it's auditory, and then it's sensory, feel, touch. But there's so much more going in the background that nobody really understands of what our body's actually telling us. And I think that we're so dug into just like the urgent and not the important that all we see is what's right in front of us. When in actuality, that person, what they're telling us is, a combination of 40, 50 years of experiences that we're feeling from them. And that is giving us a signal of, one, should I have more questions? Two, should I trust them? Three, do they have my best intentions in mind when they're speaking to me? And it's something you have to learn, but I think it's one of the most crucial skills. And I think, it's really interesting now with social media, we're able to get a background look of almost everybody. So there's already these like preconceived thoughts about people. So everybody's walking into the room, into conversations, just already having these preconceived notions of what that individual is. So I think that transforms a lot of the conversations as well. I don't know if that's good or bad. When people ask, like, why do you post on social media, or what's the benefit of it? I think there is a lot of benefit. I know I'm going off topic here, but for anybody that's, weary about social media, et cetera. But if you're in business, it creates this level of omnipresence, meaning that I can walk into a room of 40 people. If they've seen my content, they may not know me that well, but they at least have an overarching idea of what I do in life and in business to create relatable conversations. So, yeah.
Now, we rolling back the clock here in episode 16, how different of a person or outlook do you think you have now versus Collin 4 years ago?
Very different.
What are some things, maybe takeaways out of that time frame that's elapsed? What have you changed in your life, either by just going through it or purposefully, making changes for the better,
or some life experiences you've gone through?
Yeah. I mean, it feels like a decade ago or longer.
We were joking
about that. Yeah, we can show some photos.
Well, I can tell you when we were doing that interview, like your biggest story at that time still was, I wrote this many letters, I got this many deals. Like that was still fresh.
Yeah.
That was still part of your active story. Now I would say that's part of your past.
Yes, I would agree.
And now your story has just changed so much. Like, what experiences have been created since then? What's the story that you tell people now?
Yeah, just to back it up a quick step, it was really interesting just at the mastermind that Brandon Turner runs. It's called the 50.
He brought you up when we interviewed him.
Nice. He's awesome. I love Brandon. He's an absolute genuine guy. And just great group of individuals that he's put together in a room. But as I was looking around, I could see everybody's at different stages and different stages of motivation. And I don't mean somebody has 1 unit, somebody has 10, somebody has 1,000. I think in the beginning, and this was true for me, the easiest thing that you're looking for and the thing that's most apparent is, how do I solve the money problem? Because the money problem dictates what you do every day. I need to wake up to go to a job to pay for things like that. That's something that locks you in. So that's why people are so focused on that. Once you can surpass that barrier and you actually have enough income coming in to take care of those things, you realize there's a couple different routes you can go. Continue building your business, or you can start working on yourself. And what I found is, especially being surrounded by different net worths, different levels of investors, guys worth $1 million, guys worth 500 million, is that there are these different stages. It seems to go from business, then fitness, and then mental, and then understanding and controlling your mind and really utilizing the skills that we have internally. So I would say that, the biggest thing without a doubt is I've just done a lot of self-work. I was making a lot of money at the time, money that I'd never seen. And, quick background, I went to high school in Berlin, New Mexico. 50% graduation rate, lots of problems, gangs, drugs there. There's just not a lot of good opportunities. When we first had moved out there, we lived in it was a converted school, but it looked like one of those motels you see in like broken down towns. And that's what it was. That's where we lived. And then my parents bought their first house when they were 50 years old. It was like $100,000 house. They used some creative loan product.
It wasn't until I met your buddy Chris that really kind of he's like, nobody makes it out.
Yeah.
Nobody does this.
Yeah. No, seriously. So, that was kind of my mental framing growing into this. So when I started making significant money, something that would have taken, in a year, I was making what it would have taken 30 years at my W-2. it's impossible for the ego and for just your overall sense of worth to be confused with what money is coming in. And during that time, my health went down, was just not in good shape. So last time I was here, I think I had 34.5% body fat. I was weighing about 200 pounds and did not feel good. Now I'm 169 and 13% body fat. So, one of the biggest things I realized is like getting health in order, but also getting your mental health in order. There is a lot of stress that comes with business and it doesn't stop. And the more successful you are, the bigger the problems you're taking on.
What had the biggest change on you? Was it the mental health? Was it the physical changes? Like, at what point did you say, hey, I feel like I'm successful, but I need to fix this thing first?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, like just looking in the mirror and also just seeing myself was really uncomfortable. Like there's no hiding that fact. Like you can have as much money as you want. You don't want to be overweight, unhealthy. I mean, my blood pressure was getting high. Just, it was not a good look for me. So, I mean, the first and easiest thing I believe to tackle is your body. And the reason why it's the easiest is because it's most apparent. You're going to see results from it versus doing meditation, breath work. You're like, what the hell am I going to see from that? But once you get your body corrected, then your mind starts functioning better.
That's a win.
That's a win.
Yeah.
That's a win. I'm a very, kind of systematic. If somebody puts something in front of me, I appreciate everybody that's been in the military. I had thought about it. If you give me a set of orders, I'm going to do pretty good at it, completing it, just because I have a real competitive aspect to me. So created competition around it. But getting your body in order is absolutely paramount because it can shift your entire perspective. It can make something that was once hard now easy and enjoyable. But from there, I mean, there was a point where I couldn't come home and wasn't just like upset like all the time. Phone calls are coming in and I was like, okay, how am I going to get out of this hole? I'm disappointing everybody, like people reaching out, business partners, wife, kids. I want time. I want time. I want time. And I'm like, I don't have the time. What am I going to do? And
so something had to give.
Something had to give. And honestly, I think that's where, I started reaching out to different coaches. I hired a life coach. So he helped me. So I'd work with him once a week and we'd basically just talk through anything that was top of mind. I was like, I got really upset with this. And I would then sit there after and evaluate the emotions that I felt, what got me upset, what got me triggered, and what I could do in the future to kind of diffuse that thing. Because we all have young kids here and they are absorbing everything we see. They don't care if we stay in a nicer hotel on a vacation. They're not going to remember that. They are going to remember if dad came home and yelled or, became distant from them. So I realized that something had to change.
Or if you, leave your spouse.
Yeah. I mean,
it
it can all get really downhill. So, I mean, from like a tactical perspective, Atomic Habits, if you take anything from that book, I don't know what he calls it, but basically it's prepping your day ahead of time. So when I was super out of shape, no energy, wasn't sleeping, eating the wrong things, drinking the wrong things, I knew I'd get up in the morning and just kind of meander around and then it'd be too late and then I'd miss the gym and I'd be rushing to work and in a bad mood. But if you can set yourself up with a schedule, so this is something that I do with anything that I want to start doing that I'm having some friction with. So very simply in the morning, I don't have to do it now because I love the gym. That's my mode, but I will still do it. Put your shorts and shirt right by your bed, put your water there, have your protein shake ready to go. Just very simple things that remove the excuses. Because otherwise what happens, you get up, you look for your pair of shorts. Oh, it's in the washer. Oh, I've got to wash it. And now you've already lost the day. So if your current self can help your future self, that's really how I'm trying to frame everything going forward. And, Owen's the one that taught me this, but he said, what did you say about alcohol? It's borrowing happiness from tomorrow.
Borrowing happiness from tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yep.
And we do that with everything. We do that every time we sleep in. We do that every time we choose Netflix over playing with our kids, having a conversation with our spouses. We are trading happiness now for tomorrow. So basically we're starting off in a negative spot. Now, if you can front load what you're doing for your future self, your life becomes exponentially easier. And I think that's what there's a quote or something. I don't know. You'll come up with a quote about, the work that you do today, leads to the results tomorrow. And I think a lot of that, is just reflected in everything. It just takes a while to get there.
It kind of reminds me, I'm in the middle of a book called The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck.
Yeah, that's a great book.
And what you're saying, you sound like the author.
Yeah. Yeah. I've got a book title too. I am going to write a book. I was talking to Nathan Brooks the other day.
Tell us later because we have a segment for that.
Okay, cool. But yeah, really working on the mental stuff. So I started doing Wim Hof breathing, and it took about a month and a half until I started noticing results and actually calming myself down. But you can get on YouTube. It's 3 rounds, 30 inhales in, out, and then an exhale. You hold it for a minute and a half. Then I added a sauna and cold plunge into my routine. Yes, it's like I'm every Instagram reel you see. I'm basically like a Joe Rogan sidekick of
I took an ice cold shower this morning. I thought about you.
Nice.
Yeah,
my plunge is broken, so it's driving me nuts.
That's kind of weird. So Ted thinks about Collin in the shower.
That's
got
good.
it.
Why do we have
a cold shower? Were you still able to make it happen though? If in a cold shower, that's impressive. Hell yeah. Was my shirt on or off? Anyways. Was this from episode 16 or 206?
I was like, I'm gonna bring this up today, and then I'm gonna get so much shit about saying
wow.
That. Okay, so hey, here's a question for you. We're all obviously at different levels. I would say that you're out of the 3 of us, you're at the highest level. Owen's right there. I'm at the lowest.
Hear that, O-Dog?
So with that being said,
wisdom.
I mean, I'm not wrong.
In what aspect
of our business?
Yeah, what aspect
of our business?
So that's also a really good question. I'm gonna let you keep going, but sure.
We're all at different levels of our business.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
With you and taking it to the extreme in a lot of aspects, looking at Owen and then looking at me, what advice would you give to people that you know us pretty well?
Yeah.
What advice would you give to Owen? What advice would you give me on things that you're doing in your life right now that you think we should be doing?
I mean, that's a tough question because you have to understand your goals. What I would ask you to look at is what areas of your life do you enjoy most and how much time do you spend there? What areas of your life are causing you the most frustration or lack of enjoyment or creating friction? How many hours are you spending there? And then start dissecting it from there. Look at those items that you're doing that are causing discomfort and ask, 1, do I need to continue this? Can this be delegated? Or is this something that I need to handle, but in a different fashion?
Okay, since you and Owen are really close, what do you think he needs to delegate in his life?
What does he need to delegate in his life? I mean, I think Owen's gotten pretty good at a lot of things. I mean, he's seen me through highs and lows and you as well. But I think you've found a really good balance of like doing what you want, but still being there and available to help others, to help your family, to help other members in the community. But if it's Owen time, you're taking it as Owen time, rightfully so. So
I vouch for that. But
like I also,
what's he need to work on?
What does he need to work on? I didn't think this was hair.
I know, but you feel
hairline.
You work really hard on yourself. And I know that you
I can give advice for process improvement.
And when we all hung out in Vegas for his birthday, you had lots of advice to give.
Yeah.
Especially me. What do you think I should be doing? So what's some advice that you think he should be doing and then I should be doing?
Just to be real quick, I try not to give unasked for advice, but if somebody is bringing up a problem and they continue to do that and I have a solution from past experiences, I will bring that up. So I'm just going to tell you, like, I'll be in a lot of meetings and people are like, Collin, you don't talk. And it's because there's other people in that room that know just as much or a little bit more, and they've already discussed that topic. So I don't need to word vomit just to, have my own mental masturbation and feel good about myself. Sorry for saying that. But in all sincerity, so when I try to say things, I want to make sure that the other side is like on an actual receiving end and I'm not forcing it down their throat. Because if I am, that's going to get nowhere. So, Owen, is there anything that you would like to improve in your life? And are there any areas that you wish were better?
Sure. We'll talk about that offline.
Okay.
I kind of liken you to Tim Ferriss a little bit in that he talks a lot about self-experimentation. And he does a lot of things with, no, I'm not saying this applies to you, but he does
close.
Yeah, he does a lot of like psychedelics and like, he's a
big, is Joe Rogan.
He's a big like cold plunge and like he's meditation. He's kind of a woo-woo type of a guy, but you've also like tried a lot of different supplements and you're trying to optimize your body and your mind and not go through like the real extreme highs and lows. And I love talking to you about that kind of stuff because I know you are willing to do things that maybe I'm not, or I don't want to be the canary in the coal mine on trying some new supplement or drug that comes out. And you've tried a lot of different stuff. Mm-hmm. I like to just ask you, what are you taking right now? What's working? Have you noticed anything for this? And let's do current day. What are some things that help you, do you think, that you do you mentioned cold plunges, you mentioned, sauna, things like that. But like, are there things that me and Ted or the general population is running around they don't know about?
For sure. So I think one of the biggest things is to identify how you're typically feeling most of the time. And if it's not good, if it's anxiety driven, if it's depressed, meaning you're thinking in the past, if it's anxiety, you're thinking about worried about the future. I'm always looking for state changes. How do I change my current state to get back to baseline, which means present? How do I feel present? How am I clear with my thoughts so I'm with everybody in the actual conversation? You know me, that's something I've struggled with a lot. So I've noticed like that's something I have to really work on. So state changes means breath work, cold plunges, something that can rebalance you and get rid of those worries that you have no control of. And you're now in a focused state so you can start handling those tasks. What am I doing? So my life is now a funnel, what I would like to put it as, and this maybe is from Brandon, maybe not. And we were talking about this, how many people reach out to us, want our time. Well, I have this funnel and it starts at the top.
Yeah. Wait, hang on. I want to,
but you want specifics.
Yeah, no, I want to clarify what you're talking about though, because I think that was before we hit record. We were talking about the further you progress in business and the activities you're involved in, how do you defend your time?
Yes.
And you asked before we started recording, like how many people reach out to you for coffee meetups, like just one-on-ones. They want a quick phone. Let's jump on a call. Those type of invites. And what do you do with those? And that's an interesting topic because it does get a lot more common. The more, I guess, active and the more visible you get in whatever lane you're in life, not just real estate investing, but the more successful you get, the more people ask for your time. How do you approach that? And this is, I think, where you're going.
Yeah. So this is, and then I do have some things that I have been doing as far as either supplements or things that I've been doing just to continue to keep my edge, I guess is a really good way of putting it, and finding enjoyment in everyday life. So the funnel changes all the time depending on what my priorities are. But once again, I get lots of emails, get lots of texts, and I love it all. I love feeling appreciated. It's actually a really good feeling. Grew up as an only child.
That's why
he loves the attaboys.
If you have a meetup group, you know that you appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm just gonna put that out there right now.
Yeah. So it's one, and this is the simplest one: a direct path to money, $2. What I mean by that is, I have somebody that says, "Hey, I've got this new product to sell you that could improve your business, and let's set up an hour-long Zoom." Nope, that is not making me money today, unless it's a topic that's top of mind. So it's more like somebody sends me a property that's like, okay, that makes sense. Let me jump on the call for that. A borrower. All right, jump on a call for that. That is a direct path to money. That means I should allocate some time to that. Next one is family. It's got to fit in the family funnel. Meaning son's got a football game. I will be there. That means if somebody wants a coffee or something, not going to happen. If a friend wants a beer or whatever, not going to happen.
That's why we do what we do.
That's why we do what we do. That moves down to the next tier. The third one is health. Those are my three main priorities: money, family, and health. Like a year and a half ago, I started prioritizing going to the gym at 9 a.m. Yes, it could be seen as an inconvenient time. Well, it's really convenient for me, and I've worked really hard to get here. So 9 to 10 a.m. every morning is my gym time. It allows me to get my kids to school. It allows me to take a couple early morning meetings, get some emails off. I have a great group of people. That is a non-negotiable. Family, back to, kids, sporting events, etc. I don't miss those. I may be out of town or something, but I'm not missing them for another event or something like that. Or then it's money. It has to be directly related to that. It's not just like, hey, let's get together and I want to pick your brain or I want to talk about this. I'm not saying that those other ones aren't important, but they roll down to the tier 2. The tier 2 would be friends. They would be possible business opportunities, and then fun stuff like a fun trip. But literally all the trips I have taken, besides the Vegas one, that was a purely fun trip, which was well worth it.
One of my best trips I've ever been on.
Yeah, it was great.
I love that with you guys.
But like everything else that I have taken has had some sort of association with money, family, or health. Every single trip I take, because I realize this. I'll bring it up on another time, but I just got back from doing some stem cells, but we don't need to go on that because I could spend a half hour on that. I also want to see the results before I go and give a stamp for it. But that entire trip,
I gave you a referral on stem cells because Kelly was really interested in that.
Yeah. But here's the deal. I want my trips to reinvigorate me, to give me skills so that at home, my life is improved. I'm not trying to run away for a vacation or recharge. I'm going on these trips, these masterminds to work my ass off. So when I come home, my life is easier and I'm a better, more efficient killer in both, business, bed, and with my kids. Like, I want to be better in all those areas. So those are the things I'm attacking.
This is bedded in my kids. I love that.
Yeah, man. You should probably, put some parentheses.
I
in there.
love that,
Anyways,
by the way.
But I mean, so many people are chasing the 2-3 weeks off and like, oh, that's when I'm going to get all my enjoyment. Yes, I get to go travel and sit on the beach and do nothing. I would rather spend my 345 days a year that I'm at home enjoying the hell out of it and being very efficient and waking up happy every day. Does that work all the time? No, but I'll tell you what, if that's your goal, to live like a full, happy life and more just fulfilled in every level, like, use your downtime to become better. Like, you cannot escape actual work and responsibility, but you can actually find a way to enjoy it and thrive in it. And I think that's a real big misconception. It was a misconception on my part. I saw a post that I wrote. I wanted 25 units. I wanted cash flow $5,000 a month, and boom, call it quits. This is like 7-8 years ago. I wrote that because I thought I'd be able to do nothing, and being able to do nothing would make me happy. That is the opposite of the truth. Doing things makes me actually very fulfilled. I just need to be able to be the person that has the capabilities, has the energy, has the strength, has the mental aptitude to actually do those things. So I have to constantly work on myself.
I've never seen anybody in my life, to be honest with you, that has gone through so many physical and mental changes in their life as I've seen you gone through.
So you've only seen me for a little bit. There's a longer story there. So,
well, I mean, but we know that story.
Yeah.
I mean, you've been very vulnerable with us over the years, right? But I've just never seen anybody that has reinvented themselves so many times so quickly.
Yeah, so many people don't want to do it. They feel that they're being either untrue to the people that they know, or they're being untrue to themselves, when in actuality, all you're doing is yourself a disservice from what you actually want to accomplish in this life. You have to get through these barriers of what you think you can do. And even now, I've got ceilings on what I think I can do. And I can tell that when I start talking to people. The easiest thing is, wealthier. When I'm talking to somebody 50 times wealthier than I am, it's really hard for me to grasp what they're saying. It really is, because I'm in the trenches of where I am in life. But I think the constant pursuit of being able to elevate your thinking to that next level, it shouldn't be everybody's goal, but I think, being a better version of yourself the next day should be a goal. I mean, that 1% better, every day I'm trying to get better. I know that won't happen, but every day I'm trying, and there's an attempt to.
I tell you what, I personally struggle with this because every single day.
Because you're perfect. I know, Ted. It's
I
hard when you start at the top.
I struggle because I'm nowhere near what I think I'm capable of. I'm nowhere near where I think I'm supposed to be. And then I look at where I'm at age-wise and the people that we're interviewing and what I'm surrounding myself with. I look at you guys, and I'll be honest with you, it's depressing. And and I don't think that this was the life I'm intended to have. And I'm trying to better myself, change myself, and surround myself with the people that will lift me up. But I feel like now that I have a business coach, I hired Jason Dries recently, and I'm trying to integrate and change my mindset. But man, there's a puzzle piece that is not there yet.
If I could here,
so I just want to ask this question. I'm not expecting an answer, but this question was asked, and I think it was by Brandon Turner. I wish I had it written down, but it's basically, ask yourself, close your eyes, what is the one thing in my life holding me back? And you will probably get that answer faster than you want to. And it's going to be really fucking uncomfortable, and you're not going to want to say it out loud.
It's the answer. I don't want to say it out loud.
Exactly. That is it.
That's the way.
That is the way, man. And it's uncomfortable. I mean, about 8 months ago, I know I'm having
I struggle with it over and over and over again.
Yeah. I know I'm having a cocktail here, but in the past 8 months, I think I've drank probably a dozen times or so. Majority was in Vegas, and it was an awesome time. But I mean,
sorry,
no, that was great. But it was a puzzle piece that you keep getting in these networking circles. It becomes part of daily life. And I was like, okay, I'm starting to sacrifice these hours here for something that's actually has such a diminishing return on enjoyment. Now, the times that I do drink, I may go through this one, it's worth it. It's for an experience. It's to increase the engagement of the mood. But otherwise, if that's not the case and it's something holding me back, that's something you got to part ways with. And that includes people filling up your inbox. These are people trying to take away your time. That's not okay. That's insane. Imagine if somebody just kept knocking on your door selling you products, if it was in your face like that. But people have the same expectation when they send an email or a text that you're supposed to give them that type of time of day. And I swear to God, not trying to be rude, but there is just not the time in the day. So if you are that individual that's trying to reach out to somebody, provide value first, educate yourself on something that the person finds interesting, and like engage and be curious, genuinely curious, and know there's going to be no magic pill anybody can give you. You are the pill. You are the pill. Like, you just need the water to take it down. So
I personally block out like 3 to 5 every day just to meet with new people, but I don't feel like I'm getting much out of those meetings.
do you set up an agenda beforehand? So I like to,
No.
when I'm meeting with new people, especially that I don't know, especially that I think that it's going to be more of like I'm not going to say this, but like a tutorial coaching,
A
mentoring,
brain pick.
a brain pick. I always ask them what their intent is with the conversation, what their experience is, what they want to get out of it, and what are some questions I should ask of them. Because I want it to be a two-way street in the conversation, because there's something I can learn from everybody. And I think you need to realize that you have something to offer, but I don't think it's unfair to ask of, the person that's wanting to set up the meeting with you, some expectations for that. Time is incredibly valuable, guys, and it's going by so quick.
If you're listening to this right now, I'm going to tell you right now, I was severely impacted by that statement. You should actually rewind about 30, 45 seconds and listen to it, and then do it again and do it again until it's implanted in your brain, because that's probably the best advice that I've heard in a long time.
So many people talk to talk, and this goes back to my previous thing of, some meetings I won't say anything, or I'll just minimize my comments. We need to be very intentional with our speaking, with our thoughts. Words matter. And I think the more truth that you can provide in a conversation, you're going to cut through the bullshit a lot quicker. And you're actually going to be able to get to root sources of problems, opportunities, etc. So many times it's a song and a dance. How you doing, Jimmy? Oh, this was fine. That was fun. Yeah, the Huskers. And then you try to sneak it in at the end because it's somewhat uncomfortable of an ask. When if you're going to be just like forthright in a conversation, the things go so much better. But you have to just be like honest with yourself. Stop using so many freaking filler words. Stop trying to impress everybody. Speak what's on your mind. Think with empathy. Think about what the other person is thinking and feeling. Don't try to be forceful in the conversation. Somebody's only going to get what they're willing to receive.
I agree with that. I try to be that person every time I meet with somebody, but I don't feel like the person I meet with is doing the same. I'm very.
You got to hold them to a higher expectation.
I'm totally open. I put my stuff out there on a plate every time I talk to somebody. I don't hold back.
Is that during your shower? Putting it out on a plate?
My shower was my cold moment.
Ted, I know you're not volunteering for this, but since you brought this up, I thought I'd pick on you for a minute here.
Please,
So you asked Collin this earlier, like what advice
blood
would he
work.
give both
I would
of us?
do blood work, guys. If you haven't done blood work, and one of the most important, this is for everybody. There's a test that'll test the foods that cause you inflammation. Most of us, or a lot of people, have leaky gut syndrome. Leaky gut syndrome is tears in. Guys, I'm not a doctor. I'm going to butcher this, so whatever, fact check it. But it worked for me and it works for others. Basically, your intestines, different types of foods. This varies for every single person. Every single person is unique. So just because you hear almonds are healthy, your body may become inflamed from that. What happens is your body then can't process it. Then your intestines get inflamed. Then there creates micro tears, leaky gut syndrome, and then the nutrients and stuff gets into your bloodstream, and no longer are your nutrients able to like process. And that's when you get inflammation. You get puffy. Get blood work done.
From who?
Change your diet.
From who? Like, who should we go get blood work? How much does it cost?
It's like $200 for the test. There's a place 144th in California. It's called T Source.
Okay,
females can go there.
List us nationally. Is there a national site where somebody should go to?
Yeah, there's a bunch of places. I tried a company, Biohacks, in Miami. They're very expensive. They do Logan Paul.
What's really expensive?
10 grand, 12
for the testing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I spent 12 grand on testing, but it was they drew 70 vials of blood in 90 days. I lost 30 pounds of body fat.
Dizzy after that?
So here's also the problem. Here's why I don't like that question.
Vials? Holy shit, man.
Here's maybe like 35. Here's why I really hate. I'm going to say this, and sorry, it gets me a little fired up.
Fired up. I love it.
I hate that freaking question that you just asked.
We said
did you
70
get dizzy?
vials.
Hold on, dude. Chill. All you're caring about is a little bit of discomfort for what could actually be some great results.
I get blood all the time. I get it.
Okay. Well, what I'm saying is don't freak people out with, oh, you got to put in some work. Yeah, you're going to put in some work.
Vials, though.
It's maybe 30. I'm an exaggerator, guys.
30 it doesn't seem like a big deal.
Okay, 30 doesn't seem like a big deal. It isn't a big deal. Drink some
12 grand.
Drink
12 grand's a nut, though.
I spent over $100,000 that year on all the stuff, and
it changed your life.
It changed my life. It changed my business opportunities. It changed my home life. It is your body and your one life, guys. Somebody's going to go spend $100,000 on a freaking car. Who cares? Like, I am carving off a large portion of my budget yearly to spend on health. Like, it is important. I want to live a long time and feel good while I'm doing it. Yep. I want to be able to think very well. I want to be there. I've seen what dementia does. I've seen what getting out of shape, falling, having to be in the hospital for years. That is a terrible way to live. Now, I get it. You can only spend so much money based on your income, but I will tell you, every single dollar that you spend on education or personal health is not wasted. Not wasted. Not a penny of it.
Sold.
Are you?
I really am. I believe it. I
know you believe it.
I believe what you're saying.
But there is a roadblock of friction that you have.
I don't have a roadblock of friction. I just need to make more money.
Okay, there's like $200 places. Here's the deal. I will pay for your test.
I will go do a $200 test right now.
And what you will do,
I will do I'll do a $200 test. I don't care about $200.
Hold on, everybody. Okay, you're going to tell me how much you spend on food a month, and I'm going to be able to create you a diet, and it's going to be fine, Ted. There may be some sauce that you don't like. Deal with it, bro. It'll be fine.
Owen got me into the fractional, or what's it called?
Factor.
Okay. But here's the deal.
Okay.
There may be ingredients in there. For me, eggs cause me a lot of inflammation. Freaking strawberries cause me inflammation. Every type of nut. You would think those are healthy. I need to avoid those for my body. So Chris was having steak. It caused his inflammation.
Will the $200 test show you that?
It will show you that. And it may be $300 test, but I'll cover the 100 for you.
Have you done it yet?
No, I haven't done what
Let's go do it together.
I mean,
it's $200. Let's go do it.
I don't like.
Why
I'm
not?
Good. I'll
see. That's the thing.
I don't need you for that. Like, I will go do it.
I don't. It's not a need you.
I know, but
I'll bring you along with my next appointment. They got fun snacks in there too.
There we go. There we go.
You want to come with?
No.
Why not?
Why?
I don't need. Like, I don't. It's a doctor visit. Like, I don't want to go with somebody.
Why wouldn't you not want to know that?
No, he wants to. He just
I want to know it. I just don't want to go with you to know it. That's where I'm going with this. I've had people ask me, "Let's work out together." Blah blah blah. Like I've never been.
No, thank you.
I don't want to do that.
No, thank you.
Some things I just want to do on my own.
Shout out to Brad Clark, the only workout partner that's ever been like the one, and all the guys at One Gym that I work out with now. They're freaking awesome. But Brad, for like a one-on-one partner. Only person ever. Everybody else that's asked me to work out, I've worked out with.
What separated Brad from everybody else?
He's not a bitch. He would actually go in there. He would do the work. He would shut up, and we both like fed off each other's energy. There was no negativity. There wasn't like, oh, I got to do more. No, we push each other to be better. And like some people think of working out. Hold on. Some people think of working out as like, oh, I've got to do that. Oh, and I get it. When you're starting, it sucks. It's painful. Your body doesn't want to do it. But after a while, it feels really good, and you should enjoy it and actually lean into it. Lots of people are like, oh, we got to do more. We got to do this. You don't have to. You can do whatever you want in life. And that's the great thing about free will. You can do whatever you want. But my choice is to associate with people that want to work hard and do it enjoyably.
So locally, I was working out with a UFC fighter in town.
Did you fuck him up?
And no, I ain't close. And his name is Ryan, and we'll just leave it there. And he has a gym in town. And I did that for 2 years. It was the best condition I've ever been. I mean, I literally got down to like 240 pounds. And I felt great. And but then he moved gyms, and it was so far away, it didn't make sense anymore. But I did it. It pushed me. I felt like I never had before. And I love that fact of just continuing nonstop. Here we go. What's next? Man, it just gives me a rush.
See, and that's why I love going to CrossFit now. I've got somebody to tell me what to do, and I'm surrounded by a group of people that are motivating, that are also fairly successful, and that want the best for you. And we make a bunch of jokes too. But I mean, having a supportive group is really important. And if that's what you need, somebody to tell you what to do, now I need somebody to tell me what to do. I'm so busy, I can't focus. Like, I just can't. I need to be locked in my cage over here, phone thrown over there, and somebody to tell me what to do. But you got to find what works for you. And if it's not getting results, there's a reason, and you have to change something. So you have to be systematic about it. Before I did all this blood work, I had actually gotten a lot better, had gotten my drinking in a better place, and then had gotten my diet better. And I could not lose the weight. I was still 30% body fat. I was like, something needs to change. So I was at a mastermind really smart people. Smart people are always looking for things, and successful people to be better, to get an edge. They recommended the blood work. I'd never heard of any of that before. So that's why I'm telling people out loud, because if you're struggling with that, it is absolute game changer. It's using science, and you set up a process, you follow the process, you do the work, and it works. It always works if you actually look at it from that level. But if you're going to attack it ad hoc and say, I'm going to eat okay this day, I'm going to do bicep curls that day, and I was at the gym walking on the stair stepper, you may get results, you may not, but there's no real like science behind it. It's the same thing as real estate. You go in, you make 100 offers, you have 10 conversations, you get one deal. And it's because you've done all the work of analyzing, you've created those things, but you have to go through that process. So there's no free lunch, man. But there is now more than ever, especially with ChatGPT, all the information in the world to have you set up to be successful in those areas. The information's there. It's just doing it. And now the nice thing is you can compact it and get it done so much quicker with like supplementation, different types of food, different types of testing, and all these different just like biohacking type engineering. You can get yourself to a better place a lot quicker than you ever could have 10 years ago.
All right. So what other businesses have you been involved in that are real estate related or adjacent since our last podcast?
So one of the most recent ones is Midgard Crane and Tree Services. So partnered with local guy that you know, Bill Wardell, Kevin Voogd. Kevin used to work for me at Bricktown. He was a real estate agent, contractor, maintenance person. Approached me about purchasing this large crane that can basically do things that most other cranes can't do more efficiently. It removes some labor pieces, but also saves from tearing up lawns and is a lot more efficient and safe. So we bought a $800,000 crane. I think we're one of two people within Nebraska or even like a region that own this, but this thing can reach, like 160 feet, has this grapple saw, can chop down a tree, lift up 1,700 pounds, and it can do it from like the street or the driveway or a place so you're not risking like crushing a driveway. Like so if the driveway isn't sufficient enough, Ted, hold on. Please let me finish my thought. I'm just saying where this goes, because this is important if you're going to get into something. One, I found an operator. I then asked who was going to help with like the business processes. This was Bill, had an established business, one of the largest like tree removal services in the area. And this was an add-on that is not competing. So that's why I got into it, as well as the fact that I have removed a lot of trees in my life and I know the cost on that. And to be able to do it more efficiently, and also knowing how many storms that we get in Nebraska, it seemed kind of like a shoo-in. Plus, there's a lot of depreciation you can collect from one of these vehicles. So you put 10% down on this, I become X% owner. And yeah, so that's one of the side businesses that we started.
Can you talk about how much money we're talking about here? Like, what did you invest into that? Like, it was an $800,000 deal. Did you get debt on it?
We got debt on it. I'm not going to go into the details just because I haven't talked to them about it. But I mean, you put 10% down. I'm a third owner of it. So do the math. Maybe I lent somebody some money so they could get in, etc. Traded that for some depreciation for that loan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so basically, imagine I'm using made up numbers. Say we needed $100,000 down. Say I put in 50 grand of that. Well, the machine's $800,000. You can depreciate like $400,000 or $500,000 year one. I'm getting, a third of that in depreciation, $200,000 of write-offs for a $50,000 investment. Those are not the exact numbers, but that's how I looked at it from a business perspective, as well as I have the Facebook group. I have all these other avenues to bring on business. Plus, they have their ways of bringing on business because they're a tree removal company. So those funnel in. This is just a tool that allows these trees to be removed in a unique way with less labor. So
are you involved on the day-to-day or strategic part of it, or like what's your role other than just the checkbook?
No, that's a really good point. And, it's weird because I've been asked to be a part of a lot of different businesses of like, here, I'll just give you equity and do whatever. And my first question is like, what's your expectation from me? Like, I don't have any skills. Yeah. So what are my skills? This is a really good question because I am trying to figure out what Like, what is the sauce that I have? Like at the beginning, and sorry, long story longer. Thanks, Owen, for that. When I started in real estate, I did property management and I did everything of it, meaning I was spraying for bugs, I was changing locks, I was doing all the bookkeeping, everything like that. I quickly identified the things that I didn't like and was not good at, and or could not become proficient in, or were the easiest ones to delegate to. So when I get to this point, when I'm looking at this business of how can I help it, one, it's the relationships. I have a large network of people that own real estate that oftentimes have trees that need their trees removed. So that's the one thing. Another thing is I've been involved in a lot of different masterminds, business coaching, as well as just overall process development of businesses. And I can identify gaps very quickly and effectively that oftentimes when you're in a like doer space, or you've been in like an industry for so long, you can't see it because you're so laser focused on it. When in actuality, you can zoom out, increase communication, look at what the business actually is and what the steps that are involved, break it down into a process, and then allow everybody in the company to use their own creative genius to execute on it. So I bring that up because we brought in a EOS coach, Blake. Mm-hmm. I guess I shouldn't say EOS, but whatever. A coach that basically is EOS traction type style. So as we use for liquid lending, as I use for Levin Wealth as well. So we brought him in, and very quickly we identified a ton of different gaps in the business. From there, we hired a salesperson. Boom, sales jumped up. I'm taking a guess that would not occur without me being in the business. So although I'm not doing the actual work, and it's sometimes, and I certainly do feel this, I'm like, well, I'm not out there working day to day, and I have a decent ownership percentage. Really is what is my value? It's making high level, high dollar decisions and making sure they get followed through with, and bringing out people's creative geniuses in a usable format. I know that's weird, but I'm super creative on lots of the deals that I do, and I can move us past what is oftentimes considered impossible, or what's often looked over of like as a massive roadblock. Oftentimes people get caught up, and I'll give this crane as a perfect example, and this is for lots of businesses. My assumption is most tree removal companies in the area, if they're doing $500,000, $1 million a year, whatever, would absolutely lose their mind if they even thought about buying an $800,000 crane. The first thought would be, I don't have $800,000. That's where everybody's mind goes.
And they stop.
Yep. Two is like, well, what if we don't something? What if somebody can't do something? All those questions are how. Everybody gets caught up in the how. How do I do this? How do I do that? I had a really great conversation with an individual from our mastermind, the 50. He runs a large construction company in Hawaii. I'll keep him nameless because he is off social media. And he's working on a project that maybe it would get worldwide recognition. Let's put it that way. And I kept asking him, like, all right, this is really complex. So how are you going to find this to do that? He's like, Collin, I never ask how. He's like, either I know how to do it, or I'm looking for the person that knows how to do it. And I'm looking to get to the place where those people exist so that I can bring them into the fold. It's the who, not how. And I know it's said, and it's said a lot since that book came out, but the quicker we move past how into who, the more effective we can be. Now, you need to have your end goal, your end mission in mind. But if the how is something out of your purview, out of your understanding, you have to find the who, because 9 times out of 10, there is somebody better than you at that. Actually, 100 out of 100 times, there is somebody better than you at it. So then you just have to understand what the cost is going to be for that person, and also make sure that your mission, your goal is big enough that you can bring in one of those experts so that their cost is offset by the income you're bringing in. So focusing less on the how, focusing on the who. Creating creative solutions. I mean, bringing in just like structure to a business so we don't get caught up in just these minutia of details. It is a downfall of mine, meaning that like, I'm like, all right, ready, fire, aim. all the time.
Yep.
All the time. I've recognized that. However, there's some benefits to that when I understand that I have to find somebody to do it. Like, I think the interesting thing about me being in real estate and working in a majority value add space, I have no construction experience. Ask Emily when I'm at home changing. If I have to change a light fixture, dude, it is bad day for everybody. Like, I am just not handy. If you want me to move heavy stuff back and forth, that I can do well. But what that makes you do is it makes you, first off, you understand what you want to get out of it. And then you immediately go to who can do it. Like, it's as simple as that.
It's funny because if it's at home, I'm the one that's changing the fans, doing the repairs at the house. But if it comes to a rental property, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to call Chris.
Yeah.
I'm not, even it's basic. I don't even want to touch it.
Yeah. And it's hard when you first start any business. You do need to like understand the how. You do need to get your hands dirty. And I think you should get your hands dirty at least once in every aspect of the business. Like, I've done my own evictions.
That's how you learn.
Yeah. Like, once again, bed bug spraying, so that I at least have the knowledge of one, what it takes to do it, like the effort that's provided, the value that's created from it. But if it's not my lane, or it's something that I know, say my value is $500 an hour, I should be making $500 an hour, and I can offset this with $25 to $50 an hour, that's 100% the answer. Now, I may not be doing something at that time that's $500 an hour. I may be playing with my kids, but maybe that's worth $1 million an hour to me. I don't know, but you need to set that bar and to find out like who can do that. Because otherwise, you're either gonna have a poorer quality product because you're not going to become proficient in that, or you're going to spend so much time becoming proficient in that your actual real skill set that's useful, you're just going to kind of leave it to the sidelines because you're focusing on like, how do I learn how to build a website? Don't do that. Somebody else can do it for you. Once again, it's fine to do it at the beginning because I think it allows you to ask deeper questions, meaning like when you're putting a website together. I'm just going to use that as an example. When I started the meetup group, I actually did my own website, everything for that, because I wanted to take action like right then. And I was in the mode of like, figure it out. I don't even know what I want, but I'm going to do it. But guess what? Every single website since then, I'm not building.
Okay, so
not building.
I want to like focus on one thing you said. You talked about the group and utilizing the tree service and quantifying the size of your group to make money with this group, get those opportunities, right?
Yeah.
Now, I would venture to say that probably in the real estate realm in the state of Nebraska, you and I probably have the biggest meetup groups online.
Yeah, yours is awesome.
Period, right?
Yeah.
And I just had a phone call yesterday with Jeff Cohn. And he's like, hey, I want to start posting some off-market properties. Is that okay? And I'm like, hey, here's our criteria. He's like, why are you not making money on this?
Mm-hmm.
He goes, you have this many people. Why aren't you charging for people to post? I'm like, that's not who I am. He goes, you need to change your mindset.
Yeah, that's a really interesting question. I've been told
like, how
that.
do you quantify it?
Yeah, here's the deal. I've been told that a lot too. And I think he is correct in some aspects, meaning I know I'm leaving easily if I were to go back in time. But here's the deal. If I were to set this up differently, I probably would have a lot more affiliate models from like, I just know a lot of different firms, different companies. There's been years where I've utilized them and like then recommended them where I've doubled their revenue, like just offshoot companies. Should I have asked for something? I don't know, man. Here's the deal. I never was, I guess, confident enough to be like, that's the value I bring. Two, it's, tripping over pennies, to what's the saying? Tripping over pennies to make a dollar, or tripping over dollars to make a penny.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm here for the long game. I really want like whatever arena I'm playing in, I'm trying to look at something much bigger. And sometimes when you're doing like, you're trying to pull some of these referrals, it's like a zero sum game when you're doing that versus allowing it to naturally grow and you be the conduit for it. Now, even though you're not getting compensated for that, you're getting some street cred and you're building up your reputation. I'll tell you what, man, it's hard. You're going to piss off people, especially in the business I'm in. I've got investors, I've got residents, I've got employees. Like, my name's out there, as weird as it feels. I know that's what it is. And, I know I'm going to upset some people, but at the same time, like, I am going to do everything that's like true and honest to me to keep my reputation the highest, because that's something that you cannot get back. It is almost insurmountable to regain a reputation if you tarnish that. And there is no dollar that can be placed on that. There really, really is not. So I think that if it creates a model and you can provide value, sure. If you build a really good product that you charge people to do that, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But like, what's your goal? That's the thing. And if it's to make $100 per listing of off-market properties, that's not a bad idea. But then, the onus then gets put back on you to make sure that you're vetting and delivering a quality product. Right now, and I'm kind of speaking for you and for me, I don't have the time or the want to look through those things. Also, I don't like the idea of becoming like,
it seems so
it's transactional.
It seems
transactional,
but it
man.
seems so minimal for the amount of work you got put in.
Yeah, and honestly, like, money's great, and you hear this all the time. Money isn't everything. Money is this. What I have learned in business is that the relationships and what I have grown as like father, husband, and a man, just in general, like, dude, those are the skills that I actually care about and the things that I want to take away and pass on to my kids. The money will come with effort.
I'd rather have 20,000 followers on the group than to get paid by every person that wants to put their real estate listing up there.
Yeah. And I think there is a combination
There's
of
more
that.
value to that.
Yeah, and I'm probably not the best person to ask on this because at this point, I probably could have had 50 different coaching businesses. And, I look at the majority and not everybody because I pay for coaching and everything. And I absolutely believe in coaching and mentorship. But like, during the heyday when everybody was becoming a coach, like you could pick 30 coaches and I probably had 10 times the experience of all of them combined, but I still did not feel confident enough to provide that information. And I know I would have done a better job. And here's the deal. I am going to coach Start Mastermind soon because it's, and this is a thing that I did want to talk about is kind of stacking of like, people call it habit stacking, but I like to like meeting stack or just like stack multiple things together. So instead of having a meeting, we have a walking meeting. And instead of having a walking meeting, we're outside getting sun and we combine that with the work, whatever it is. Like I want to combine those things. So back to like how we started this, you have 10 people reach out to you a week, but I'm not able to meet with them. Okay, maybe now the market, and this sounds terrible, but the market is demanding, meaning there is want for my time enough that I could be compensated for it. And in return, I can put my time aside and dedicate that to those individuals and put together a good product. And it's no longer like just like me trying to make money because that's the last thing I want to do. I want to impact people to see them grow, but time is a limited resource. And I've already told you my funnel. It's direct progress to cash, to money, family, and health. And if it's not fitting in one of those buckets, then unfortunately it goes to the second layer when time frees up. But I do think that like you should listen to the market's demands. And when the market does demand something and want something, it makes sense to create a product for it. So I get it because I'm at a crossroads with that too. Like everybody that reaches out to me, like 98% of them, I want to meet and have like a meaningful conversation with. But I'm not just going to say, hey, I'm going to talk to you for 15 minutes and not give them my full attention. So that's where I think that whether it's the off-market properties, whether it's coaching, whether it's mentorship groups, I think it does make sense to do it and do it in a paid model. But I think that like it really has to fit in what you want to do. So I don't know. I don't know if that makes any sense, but
I love it. You and I have talked a lot about that aspect of it, defending your time and taking in quality meetings with people and how you can get the most out of basically the relationships we build through our network, right?
Yeah.
All right, Collin, we have a section that I think you're familiar with. We lovingly call it Failing Forward. You went way long on that.
I should have prepped for this.
Why do you mix this up every time?
So you guys got to ask me these questions and I might circulate back to them, guys.
No.
Okay.
Here we go.
No, it's a segment.
This is off the top of your head. So failing forward, anything that's happened in the last 4 years that has not gone according to plan, that you learned something from, and you can share with the listeners.
You wouldn't take it back.
I mean, I don't think I'd take any of my failures back.
Exactly. Because they're failing forwards.
Dude, I've made so many F-ups, and it goes back to like what I said before is like learning about myself and my actual intention. So what I realized, hold on, Ted, is this my question or
very
your question?
specific?
You want something specific?
Yes.
Well, I told you it was going to take me a second. I'm not going to give you anything specific because this is actually really broad for everything. And it's something I am realizing. And I go back to the gut feeling There are many times, and I think a lot of people do this, but we don't talk about it, is we have these internal thoughts, feelings in our head, and we don't discuss them at an appropriate time. The appropriate time is in an appropriate setting, well thought through, and thinking about the other individual and how it's going to affect them when you bring it up with them. There are many times I've done things that have felt a little bit off. I've asked some questions, but basically brushed it under the rug and said, it'll be fine, when I should have stood my ground. I can think of that for different business opportunities or just conversations in my daily life. So you're saying failing forward. I think there's just a lot of them, like where I should have said something based on like core values and fundamentals that I hold true, that I let some of them slip because it was either more comfortable to do, it didn't create discomfort, and maybe there was a dollar sign at the end of it. So I was like, you know what? Things never go wrong. I'm just going to go along with it. And if it doesn't work out, great. I'll be there to fix it. Now, all of that's kind of true, but I think more now, like the lesson is like move slower, evaluate the actual situation and think about it 3 years out. And if you still agree with that situation and 3 years from now, Collin, then yeah, you can go for it. If you get some discomfort, still have questions in your head, then don't do it. Also, I guess employees, I think, this is a broader stroke, but during the COVID rush, we were hiring a lot of people and everything. I was not doing a good job at training. And I think for any small business owner, one, less employees is better, and utilizing contractors. And if you do have employees, really nurturing them, like make sure you have the time for those individuals, or make sure you have those like people set up, leadership to nurture and take care of those individuals. Like it is assumed as a business owner, everybody knows what I'm thinking. Nobody knows what you're thinking. Nobody knows your intention. And unless you state it very clearly and specifically and also repeat it, you will get off course.
I feel like that's come up so many
I know
times.
this is a cop out of an answer. Like, and I'm
No.
sure I could write down 15 different things, but like, I mean, some are kind of specific either about people or certain situations, which I don't technically want to do that. But like, I mean, that's what it is.
I feel like this has come up so many times in conversations with virtual assistants. Like you got to put the time in to make a quality virtual assistant because they don't work. I personally gone through multiple VAs, and it was honestly all on me for the reason of their failure. And my current VA just stuck me long enough. John, you're listening to this right now. He stuck me long enough that he's actually been able to find out how everything works.
Yeah,
and put enough time in. It probably cost me double the amount of money in production I would have gotten if I was able to actually just sit down and train them.
Yeah, there were points in time where I didn't trust myself enough or didn't have enough confidence to like stand up for like core principles because of whatever the noise was going on in the background. And that's something I've drawn a hard line in the sand on, of like what I do and what I don't do now. It's like, yes, I'll do that. No, I won't. There's no ambiguity. And my first answer, unfortunately now, I shouldn't say unfortunately, is probably no for most things. And I love to say yes for more opportunities, but time is so limited. At the beginning, you're just chasing like opportunities, and even just to get into the funnel of, business and, making money and just, building yourself up. But I think the more you can stay focused in your lane, even if it may not seem as sexy to the outside world, and people may be like, why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you charging for that, etc. It's important to take those things, create a side list, and see where they fit and they mesh with your mission.
Yeah, it flows perfectly with what we're discussing right before this too. So
one thing I always have enjoyed about our conversations, Collin, is like we've had hundreds of times where we've had opportunity. Well, I would say I'm not going to say opportunities. I'm going to say we've had hundreds of situations that have come up where we could have done something to affect the other person involved in a transaction or a deal or a loan or something like that, where we could have gotten the advantage 100% of the time. And what I've always vibed really well with you on is I remember from the first time we sat down at, I think it was the Farnham the
Farnham Brewing House.
Farnham Brewing House.
That was my office for like a year. I love that place.
So
they're out of business.
The very first time we sat down there, and many meetings thereafter. But one thing I always liked about our conversations was like whenever there was a situation that was like ethically maybe on the gray in the gray area. It seemed like we always arrived at do the right thing despite the advantages we could gain if we went the other way slightly.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know what I'm talking about here, but there's been a lot of times where we're like, should we give this person X, even if they didn't know what they were not involved at all in the conversation? And we're like, should we give them this because of what they did? And we could have just very well kept, $5,000, $10,000, whatever, and used it for our lives. Right. And whatever. And we said, no, they did a good job and they went above and beyond, and we gave them a bonus. Or, there were situations where we could have really gouged somebody on something because they were at a disadvantage in our negotiating position, and we did the right thing and did XYZ. I've always loved that about you. And I feel like I can call you all the time and we can talk through stuff and arrive at a situation or a level where you and I could go to sleep at night and say, I look in the mirror in the morning and I'm totally fine looking at that dude. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because of the decision we made yesterday about whatever situation it was. And that is the one thing that has always rung true in our friendship and business relationship and all that stuff. So that's one thing I really wanted to underline about you as in particular on this podcast is you have always been above the line in regards to integrity throughout our relationship and throughout me knowing you. So
I appreciate that.
I can't say that about everybody.
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
No,
for those of you watching on YouTube, I just gave Ted a head. No, I'm totally kidding.
You,
Ted's
Ted.
the same way.
For sure. Ted is 100%.
Yeah.
And so are you. And, here's where, it's oftentimes you can lose sight, but I try to zoom out. And when I first moved to Nebraska, I said I wasn't going to work for a couple months and whatever. I ended up getting like 3 jobs in 3 days. Like I'd walk into a store and I just start talking to people. They're like, you want a job? Sure. I found myself at a Starbucks and Hy-Vee. And you know what? I would get there at 5 a.m. every morning. I left I was a bouncer and bar back at this bar called Rumors in Bellevue. So I'd probably go to bed around 3:30 a.m.
I did their marketing for a little bit.
Oh my God. You knew Bill?
Yes.
Bill. Oh man. Okay. Yeah. So I think combined.
We've never talked about that ever.
That's hilarious. But I would be in the store and I'd basically be the only one there. But every once in a while, like vice presidents and big wigs of Hy-Vee would jump in. And, I kept this in my mind. I was like, work like somebody is always watching you and somebody is always keeping score of what you're doing and function like that. And I think now as you get bigger into the game, and I call it a game, but and the numbers get bigger, zeros keep adding on. There's a lot of gray area. There's a lot of unethical people. And what I want to keep front and foremost is if everything was put out there of my actions, of what I did in the situation for my kids to view, how would they view me? I think it's so important or being able to justify and explain it. At the end of the day, people helping people is what's going to get you farthest in life. I mean, Tony Robbins says, the more you give, the more you get. I really dislike how he says it, because what most people think is how am I going to give $10 and get $11 back? That makes no sense. What he's actually saying, and this is my interpretation, is we all have a gift that we can provide to the world. We provide that gift, whether it's through different services, building products, whatever, our kind smiles, whatever the hell it is, running a awesome meetup, doing this awesome podcast. This is value that's provided. Eventually it reciprocates. It's not going to reciprocate dollar for dollar. And it may take a long time,
but it may,
but it may, and it may do it 1,000-fold. But the truth is, the only way you're going to find out is actually giving your gift to the world. I talked to an individual and they told me they never enjoyed their job of 40 years. And all they wanted to do was work on XYZ. And it was really sad to me thinking about that. It was one, that they spent their entire life doing that. And that the thing they wanted to do is self-serving. And if they could have just found a path to incorporate that into the world, they probably could have made a career out of it. They could have been compensated for it. But it's just this narrow thinking. And I mean, this is a longer conversation about education and everything, and the education system of what we're built to do. We're built to do a widget. We're built to do a task. We're not built to be creative thinkers through the current education process. And if we're creative thinkers, we're actually thinking about what can we do to provide the most benefit to the world. And in return, you will get something back back for that. That's 100% true all the time. It just may not be on your schedule when you receive those in return. And that's the most difficult thing. The unknown is the unknown. So it's a good way of me avoiding that first question too. But I think you guys get the gist.
Collin, I mean, everything's just been absolutely amazing, but we do got to get into the most important questions of the show, which is the OT with Owen and Ted.
First question coming at you.
Coming in hot.
Your first book. What is it?
You teased it.
Yeah.
What's it going to be titled if you have that picked out yet? But more importantly, what's it about?
So very interesting. I was driving the other day and I was thinking through, and I came up with the book title. Now, once again, this is not the finality of it, but it's Figure It the Fuck Out. I've got variations of that. So, or the art of figuring it out. I think so many times in life, people are defined by one moment of one thing or one set of circumstances that continues to occur, and that becomes their life. And they create blame around that. They create excuses around that. They find reasons to just like make that become their being. And they'll complain about not being able to pay bills. The boss is bad to them. Spouse is bad. Kids did this. And all throughout my life, throughout all the hardships, I've been able to figure it the fuck out. And I started questioning. I'm like, why is that? What is that? And why can't other people figure it out? I mean, I was not given a silver spoon. Nothing's been easy. I may say it seems easy now. It's still difficult. But I think if people realize that no one's coming to save you and that the onus is on you, you get a lot of empowerment. Also, the fear and the anxiety, like even just saying that, it immediately goes away. When I'm like, I just remember growing up as a kid and I scored really high on tests. I was always like the 99th percentile on all those whatever ISTB tests, whatever. Like I just nailed it out of the park. School was good. Social skills, as well as height. But I always thought somebody was, because I had some level of intelligence and did good on tests, that the world was going to hand me this platter. No, the world doesn't. You have to figure it out. You have to go in, understand your strengths, and fight for yourself. And it's on you to do it. So yeah, figure it out. Figure it the fuck out.
It's funny that you bring up the height because you married a woman that was taller than you.
Yes.
Like substantially taller.
Yeah. She gets things off the top shelf. Our kids are going to be taller. And yeah. yes. If it's awesome.
That's a confidence boost right there. Okay. So first off, can you shout out the podcast that you do have?
Keeping It Real Estate.
Keeping It Real Estate.
Yeah.
Okay. Now
he had to double check.
I did. Guys, it's been a while since we've done it. Yeah.
Okay.
It's really good though. Like,
thank you.
Especially the episode I was on.
It was good. We are going to bring it back. Yeah. Just busy.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's Keep It Real Estate, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
It's your podcast.
Me and Chris Palmerloo.
You can interview anyone in the world today. It doesn't have to be real estate related. Who is it going to be?
Alive or dead?
Alive.
Okay.
Who is it going to be? And what's the one question you want to ask?
I need a minute to think about this. Next question.
Okay, next question. It's funeral time for Collin Schwartz.
Here we go.
Who is going to deliver your eulogy, and what do you hope you're going to leave behind as far as a legacy? What do you hope they're going to say about you?
You know, honestly, I've thought about you. So, yeah, Owen, you're going to. Here you go, bud.
Oh, wow.
Either that or it's my buddy Brandon, and he was my best man in my wedding and didn't fully understand how it went. He even forgot to introduce himself and slammed a couple Crown and Cokes before he got up, but he still delivered the speech. So it's either you or Brandon. So,
oh, wow. Okay. Well, I'm going to start studying. Chat GPT will be my friend.
Yeah.
Here's a question for you, follow up. This is unscripted. And I'm going to ask you this also, Ted. Today, if you were getting remarried. Well, let's say you were.
No, we're not going to do that.
No. Hang on.
That's a bad question.
No.
That's bad jujus.
Would you change up the wedding lineup? That's my question. I'm not.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. If you're marrying Emily again.
Yes. Yeah.
So.
I would change it up for sure.
Why is that?
Because my group of individuals have changed. Also, there were probably people that I wanted to put on there. Like I think of Brad. He had came to the wedding. We were close. We weren't super close then, but like I always think I would have loved to have him as part of the wedding party.
It's funny because my buddy Kelly,
and I got to officiate his wedding, which is awesome.
My buddy Kelly like gave me a lot of hard time. He's like, you didn't have me in a wedding, you know. And
Yeah.
Oh man, I have a buddy
and-
like that too. It just throws me shade.
And nowadays, he's probably one of my closest friends. We hang out every week, and he does throw some shade on that. But there's a couple of people I wouldn't have in, but there's a few people I definitely would still have there.
Yeah. So
Like those lifelongers.
yeah, like especially Brad. Shout out Brad. And I got to officiate his wedding. It was so cool.
That was a great wedding.
50% would still be in, 50% would probably go, right?
Yeah. So okay. So who would I interview? This is a really tough question, but I'm going to put out something that I'm going to be able to grab and reach it. So it's funny. When I first started thinking about real estate, didn't own any properties. I'm listening to Bigger Pockets, and my kids are like, "What are we listening to?" I'm like, "I'm going to be on this show." I was like, "I'm going to be on the show. I'm going to be on the show," and I kept telling them,
"You were the first guy in Omaha to do it."
Yeah.
You were.
I helped.
Maybe Nebraska.
Yeah, and I helped another individual get on there, but I won't take credit. I just kind of did. But
it wasn't Owen Dashner.
It wasn't Owen Dashner. It wasn't.
I keep getting rejected.
He's too old.
I mean, he did get to go with Brandon Turner. So who would be the person? So like my mind goes a couple different places. So, and it's just like in my current state.
It doesn't have to be real estate though.
It's not going to be real estate, guys. Sorry. It's just not.
Because we haven't talked real estate yet this podcast.
I'm sorry. Real estate's wonderful. It's great. It's a formula. It creates this foundational wealth piece that I think everybody should have in their life. There's a lot more to the world, just like there is a lot more to the world than money, looks, and fame. So the person who I guess I'm most interested currently is Joe Dispenza. He hosts like these meditation retreats, and he just had a podcast. I think it was on Diary of a CEO. If you guys listen to Diary of a CEO with Steve Bartlett, basically it's a combination of meditation and quantum physics. This all sounds like pseudo crazy science, but I mean, it's something I believe in. And I've met people that have proven this. And in fact, I know somebody that's has Lyme disease and said 95% of their symptoms have gone away from going to these retreats. So Joe Dispenza, and I mean, Elon Musk would be awesome. I would also, that's
two. You're already out.
No. So you asked me. We can throw them all in a hat and we can pick from one. I would like to interview some world leaders, whether it's Putin, Kim Jong-un, Trump, any, the Argentinian president. I don't know who his name is. But I think it would be really, really interesting to get an insight of how they think. I think most people, like if you were to hear me say Putin or Kim Jong-un,
Trump and Elon have come
God, I don't want to talk to those people. That's exactly the reason why I want to talk to them, because the point is understanding somebody else's point of view and why somebody thinks like that. Because the problem is typically you're in a silo thinking of like how your 50% of the world thinks. The other 50% of the world thinks completely differently than you. Why is that? Maybe it's something that we should be thinking about. Maybe it's something that we could find some similarities. Maybe it's something that we could grow and build something great together. What an awesome thought. Wow.
There's a middle ground there?
So what I mean is finding somebody that's contradictory to how I actually think, I think is one of the most interesting things. And the people I want to talk to, I can find people everywhere that love talking about money, real estate, and getting fit. That's easy.
Do you ever go on Threads like that? That's
very rarely.
I accidentally go on there. That's generally how I end up there. I'm on Instagram.
And it gives you the button.
The link.
Yeah.
And then I wound up in this Threads conversation where somebody asked, what does the rest of the world think about the U.S.? That was the whole thing.
Yeah.
And then there were hundreds and maybe thousands of responses. And I just started digging into that because I was curious, like, because we have an echo chamber here, right? Like, there's so much media and news and social media response, and like, wow, it was really telling. Like, it was Australia and Japan and like England and like all of our allies and also adversaries right now, like China, Russia, like they were all chiming in, and it was.
What was the overall consensus?
It was. Whatever. I'm regurgitating what they said, but basically it was like, you guys are becoming a joke because of your leader. And it's actually really scary because we feel like we have been allies with you for so long, but we don't even know who you are anymore. Yeah. And that was one of the main takeaways I had, which was, what are you doing? And we don't know where we stand with everything. And so the general underlying like consensus was, we don't know what you're doing. You are a total wild card right now, and it makes everyone uncomfortable. So I was like, that was pretty interesting. And it's to your point, you're in an echo chamber of
Yeah.
people that agree with you and viewpoint is the same, and you're not getting outside opinions. You tend to believe your own bullshit.
Yeah.
And hearing everyone else's point of view, and this was unfiltered, it's Twitter. It could have been bots I was listening to, but it wasn't, it didn't seem that way. So yeah, I think we live in a big world, and we tend to make it a really small world based on everything we surround ourselves with.
Yeah, I reposted something that Chris Williamson put out, and it was about just discussing the topic of what you consume in social media and then evaluating what that is doing to you. Once again, we evaluate what we put in our body, what we eat. Oh, I ate this, I ate that. It's disturbing how few people think about the information that they allow into their brains that fundamentally changes them. Even if it's a micro change, even if it's short-lived, it is a change. I notice a massive difference, and I used to do this. I used to get up, I'd get on the bike, and I'd watch a show. Sometimes I'd watch some, like, let's call it Walking Dead, and I don't think it was Walking Dead, but something similar to that.
I love Walking Dead.
Yeah, but not at 7 a.m. when I'm working out. Like, I noticed, like, my day was flat or somewhat down, versus now I'm either working, which I try not to do the first thing in the morning, but I'm listening to either something positive or something useful, and man, or some music that's positive, because man, that actually shifts your day. And I think people are just really unaware that if you're listening to, no offense, Todd and Tyler, I haven't listened to you in 10 years, and a buddy of mine was just on there and it was kick ass. But like, dude, I was listening to that and I was becoming a little whiny bitch, blaming the entire government for all of my problems as I worked a W-2 job. Dude, the more you listen to that, the more you commiserate with people, the more you actually become that. Like, form your own opinions. You see something of what you want to be. Even if it causes you discomfort because you're jealous, it's okay to be jealous. I'm jealous of plenty of people. I'm like, I want that. Like, I want that. And usually the things I want are not like material. It's like the person's way of being. Like, I'm like, man, that person like can walk into a room, is confident, cool, and just has this like demeanor. Like, that's something to be jealous of. You look at that, you start thinking of that, and you start thinking of how it can reflect on you. But if you're thinking about tariffs and how the tariffs just ruined your life, get the fuck over it. Figure out a plan and move on, because there's going to be another 10,000 tariff scenarios in your life. You just need to figure it out and build yourself. Like, it's just, I hate to be so like cutthroat about it, but like, everything is on you. Back to my book title. New York Times bestseller. I know you got to be in a meeting 2 minutes ago, Ted, but you're just going to have to figure it the fuck out.
First off, I love everything you said. I tried.
Thank you, Ted. Seriously, thank you.
Because
I know I love joking with you.
Because I mean, it's just like today. I was at the gym. I got there at 4:45. I've been trying to work on this new goal, and I'm like, I don't want to put crap in my brain. I'm trying to find books that I can listen to that motivate me, start my day off, and then also give me inspiration on things I can work on for the day, right? So I'm totally on the same page. This next question, though, which is my final question to ask you, is I want you to think about the person that has had the biggest impact in your life, a mentor. And I want you to speak directly to them and give them a thank you and shout them out and what they've done for you in your life.
I think the Snoop Dogg has something. I want to thank me for being me. No, I'm just kidding.
Snoop Dogg.
No. It's this question, once again, I'm trying not to be dodgy here, but it reminds me of the how are you doing? No. But the point is, when somebody asks me how I'm doing, I said that's a really big question that has like 10 different buckets in there. So there's people that have been by my side. There's also like singular conversations that have had really large impacts on me.
Fair.
So
in all the years that's never come up. We've never had somebody say that.
I'm just saying like that every single different area. I mean, because I could point to one of my coaches, Dave Andrews, he did a great job of helping me with different habits, understanding my process of thinking. I mean,
it could be a coach, but it could just be like, it could be, I mean, it's been everything from a mother to a father.
Oh yeah. There you go. My mom.
Brother.
Give my mom a shout out.
Okay, what are you going to say to mom? She's listening right now. You're talking directly. What are you going to say to her?
Hey, Ted, for doing this. No, actually, it's a really cool thing. Love you, Mom. Thank you for always being the example, for putting in the hard work, for doing the things even when you didn't want to do it. You self-sacrificed. You believed in me, and love you for it.
That's exactly what I look for.
All right. Well, now I'm going to cry here, Ted. Thanks, buddy.
Air hugs.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm glad you mentioned that because I've glossed over, but she's like created the fundamental way I think. Meaning
always,
that there's no obstacle too big and that you do it with a smile on your face.
we've always had that rock in our life. Like if I had to really think about it is my grandmother.
Yeah.
Who was the fundamental person that made me who I am.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it created your core behaviors.
Yes.
And what I go back to, I mean, so that's really good. I'm just going to bring it up.
Who makes you the man that you are today?
Well, the thing is, like, going through really hard times in my life of personally inflicted or just the world is inflicted, but everything's personally inflicted. Everything wrong that happens to you in this world is your fault. It's my fault. It's your fault. Once we can recognize that, it's easier to move on. But seeing her and the strength she gave me to know, 1, you're a good person. 2, keep working hard. 3, always have a smile. 4, you're smart. Use your intelligence and just keep going. Like, don't give up. And I don't think she ever said any of those things, but I saw it in her actions. And I've been saying this a lot lately. If people question something I said or did, I'm like, what did my actions tell you about the entire situation? And I've been able to like have people go, oh, yeah, I may have word vomited and said F you, but what have my actions said throughout the time that you've known me? And I think that actions,
I also think if you have kids, it's like, who are you modeling your kids behind? Might be a parent or grandparent or somebody that you look up to. And for me, my grandmother taught me a lot of, fundamentals on how to be a good person. And I try to instill that on my kids.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And I think that's kind of where that goes.
Yeah.
But with that, Owen Dasher, what do you got?
I'm going to throw a bonus question in here. Okay, Collin, we've watched some Marvel movies together and some like other types of movies together. If you had to pick one superpower that you could live with starting today, what would it be?
It's so funny. I literally asked my kids this question on the way to school this morning. I didn't think about my answer, though. Are we thinking like...
I want to ask my kids
Can I be...
Anything's on the table. Like, there's all of them are out there.
So I would need a buff up on that. Man, do I want...
Ooh, I know mine.
I don't want to be the egotistical craziness, but who's the guy from The Boys that can do anything and has a superpower?
Homelander.
Yeah, does it come with a mental disorder?
Well, he's off-brand Superman. You could just say Superman.
Yeah, I don't know if that's it though.
Ooh, you can do whatever. This is an open-ended, man. Like whatever you can think of. It could
just be the power. It doesn't mean be a person.
Yeah.
What's the one power?
Walk me through this.
Invisibility, super strength. Teleportation.
So name mine.
Ted's super excited. Okay, Ted.
Let's go to Ted. Let's hear yours.
No, because when I name mine, you're gonna want it. So I want to know.
No, name it.
Time travel.
Time travel. Is that a superpower?
Yeah, because
Doctor Strange.
Doctor Strange. Yes.
Yeah. The time stone.
That is the most powerful thing, to be able to go back and forth in time. There's nothing more powerful than having that information. Because where my head was going was who's the guy in the wheelchair? Star Trek dude.
Oh, from
X-Men.
The mind control guy.
You're mixing up two different universes here.
Yeah. I know.
Xavier,
Xavier.
Dr. X.
Yeah, so I was thinking that, but I think the ability to go get the information. Yeah, I'm stealing yours, Ted. But
I knew it.
But
it's a strong one.
Next, if like you just threw it on the table, I'd be like, it'd be pretty cool to have Homelander's powers.
With time travel, you can do anything.
I just think he's too stupid. Like, I don't know if that like intelligence and like being incredibly smart and like emotionally intelligent is pretty important. So Doctor Strange. Yeah, he's got to figure it out.
It's either time travel or never die.
Ooh, no, thank you. The never die thing is
because how many times can you reinvent yourself in that?
Yeah, but how many times can you suffer in that?
Okay,
no, I'm not saying I wouldn't want to live forever.
All right, hang on. Are you saying never die like you live, die, repeat, or are you saying you're impervious to dying, like you're immortal?
Immortal.
Okay, so you're a god.
Yeah, you're the blue guy.
You will never age. You're Dr.
Manhattan.
Yeah.
Or Doctor Strange. Those are the two biggest powers.
Time travel, or you're basically like immortal.
Give me Thanos with the glove.
Manhattan.
Then I get it all.
Manhattan could try time travel.
Yeah.
So Manhattan is the ultimate.
See, I don't know enough about superheroes.
But here's the thing about that. That guy, he was despondent.
Yeah,
he was completely. He had no emotion. He looked at everything black and white. and if I do this, then this happens. And like he looked at everything.
He's
as
also
an
living
equation.
in multiple time.
Yeah,
at the
That's
same
almost
time.
a gift, though.
Is
I mean,
it?
well, if you're that person, then it's just is. But
Yeah, then
but
he's
then you're
just-
also missing out on like life.
He was
Right.
also, he was also
Like
a
ups and
god and
downs.
could create.
So, but he was more or less a factory worker at that point.
I don't know. Deadpool seems pretty cool. He seems like he has a good time.
Deadpool, I love Deadpool.
Deadpool
You know I
has a
love
good
Deadpool.
time.
Yeah.
Here's the deal: if I'm like walking away today, man, it'd be kind of disturbing to be able to just pick up this room and throw it over. Like, I don't know. I'd get pissed off sometimes, and all of a sudden, I'd knock over a freeway.
Doctor
That's-
Strange.
I don't think I'm ready for Homelander type stuff. Doctor Strange, I can move back and forth. That's a good idea.
I don't. I like that. I actually like that. I was going to answer differently before
What
all
was
this
it? What was
rhetoric. I was going to say
Batman? You want to be Batman and get a cool
No.
suit?
No.
Superman.
Immortality would be like you would think that would. I read a lot of sci-fi stuff though, so like I've read stuff about vampires and gods and monsters and demons and all that stuff, and like there's a curse to being immortal.
Yeah,
because
for sure.
You we're not meant to live for thousands of years, right? Like you're going to see some stuff. Everybody you know is going to die. Like it's impossible to fall in love with somebody because they're just a fleeting moment.
What's that Tom Cruise where he's a vampire?
Live, die, repeat. Sorry. Interview with a vampire.
Oh,
Yeah.
you aren't talking about Tom Hanks and Groundhog Day?
Oh, no,
Yes.
that wasn't. Hang on, we're mixing up a lot of movies here.
I mean, that's a superpower.
Bill Murray.
Yeah,
was
Bill
Groundhog
Murray.
Day.
Sorry.
We've discussed that actually.
Oh yeah. What if you could
Yes.
experience your Groundhog Day? What
Yes.
would it be? Ted
Yes.
has to go. He
Yep.
keeps looking at his watch annoyingly.
Have you guys ever heard about underneath the pyramid? There's supposed to be
the pillars.
but there's supposed to be a power source that can only be accessed if you have a person enlightened enough
The
to
Tesseract.
to get their frequency high enough.
Have you seen that they?
I love ending it with this, but like we were actually having a pretty deep conversation. One of the guys I know, he's like,
you
he's
seen
like
a-
Sammy Hagar's daughter's like his breath coach, but he's he's working on getting his like frequency and vibration as high as possible. Because at the end of the day, we're all vibrations. This is going to get really weird, but apparently, the person with a vibration high enough is able to unlock the power that's underneath the pyramid.
This was X-Men Apocalypse, by the way.
Well, I mean,
Okay, but
yeah.
have you seen recently that they actually got the new satellite and they looked underneath the pyramids in the last 2 weeks?
New salad.
New satellite.
Satellites, fake
Oh.
news.
And they've actually pierced it, and there's like 648 meters down. There's structures going underneath each pyramid.
It's like
And there's these
a third of a mile.
There's these spirals that are going down from each pyramid, and then there's a big box.
What were you saying when we were at the Tool concert? It's a
Amoeba.
Leviathan.
The amoeba.
A Leviathan. Is that what you're talking about again?
No.
Wow.
But
Okay.
no, but they just came out with this.
Okay, would you rather be able to go to the top of the ocean or go into space? Bottom of the ocean or in space?
Space.
So this is like a 2-day
I-
trip. You can explore all the bottom of the ocean, or you can go in Earth's orbit.
I'd rather-
Orbit.
Space. 100%.
Okay, or you can explore every inch of a pyramid, even the parts that have never been seen.
I've been inside the pyramid,
Every inch.
and I took a photo, and apparently you're not supposed to, and I'm like freaked out with my mom. It's $20,
I would take the pyramid.
$10.
I watched a movie last night. It was called Mickey 17.
I've heard of it.
Yeah.
Have you watched the show From?
I'm sorry. Yeah. No. Go ahead.
No, go for it. It's about people that once you drive into a town, you get stuck there, and then they're just stuck there
Oh.
forever.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's kind
and
of
there's
like
all kinds of
WandaVision.
fucked up shit. Yeah.
All right. Should we?
Yeah.
We're going to continue this with part 2 sometime soon. Stay tuned, listeners.
And we'll actually talk real estate.
Yeah, we'll talk real estate.
Maybe.
I love to talk some real estate. That's fine.
Because we didn't touch real estate once.
Yeah, I love real estate. It's great.
I love it.
Yes.
We talked about it.
I love us because Owen and Collin are business partners. We've had some great times. We've all done stuff together. It's been way too long. I've come to find out that we've done this because we never touch real estate, and that's for a reason. And so I appreciate so much coming on, Collin. This has been great. But Owen Dashner, we see us out.
On behalf of Aiden Bear, Rhea Radio, and Ted Kosh, I'm Owen Dashner. You've been listening to Collin. What have my actions told you about my intentions? Schwartz. Signing off.
Is it a coincidence that we've recorded episode 16, which is rated the 6th highest podcast ever, and we're recording on episode 206? Dun, dun, dun.
Kind of a stretch, but whatever.
The plot thickens. Do you want to build a snowman?